Let's look at the fill and stroke options in Adobe Illustrator. So if you're familiar with Adobe Photoshop, you'll know about the foreground and background color, usually represented by the icon at the bottom of the toolbar. So what would be the foreground color in Illustrator is the fill color, or in Photoshop is the fill color in Illustrator. And the background color is represented by what will be the stroke. So fill is the color of your object, stroke is the outline around your object. So I've drawn a few objects on the screen using simple shape tools available to you in Illustrator. So the first way to create a quick fill on your object is to just click on this fill color, and it'll bring up the color palette. And then you'll notice you have a color spectrum right here which you can choose from. So let's go ahead and choose a blue color. Now I think I'd like to have this box not have a stroke at all, so I'm going to use this slash right here. You'll notice that puts the red slash through the stroke, and our fill is filled with blue. So we've got a blue rectangle with no stroke. For the circle, let's keep it white, and we'll make selecting my stroke, make a green stroke on there. So we've got a white rectangle with a green stroke. Now what happens if I put this white rectangle with the green stroke overlapping my circle? You can see that it is indeed white. Let's make a copy of this. I'm going to Command C and Command V and place this to the left so you can see two copies of that right now. Now notice these are on top of the rectangle. So if we look at our layers really quickly, you'll notice on layer 1 you can click this little caret, and it actually shows you the hierarchy of all the objects in that layer. So I could select my rectangle, my rounded corner rectangle, and both circles, as well as the star. So just something for you to realize, you can actually rearrange everything in this palette, and now the star is on top. So what I want to do with this circle is show you that if I were to fill this with nothing, so the fill is empty, it is indeed empty, so you can see through it. All you see is the stroke. Okay, let's make this guy red, and I want to make my stroke a little bit bigger. I'd like it to be black, but I'd like it to be a little bigger. So let's look at the options for the stroke. And if this palette isn't up on your screen, you can just go to Window, Stroke, and it'll show up. So typically the measurement used for stroke is a point, and there are 72 points in an inch. So right now I'm going to change this from 1 point to 4 points. And you can see that the stroke around my object has gotten much bigger. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. Command plus and minus on your keyboard lets you zoom in and out. Hold down the space bar. That allows you to pan, click and drag. So we've got a few things selected and filled. Let's look at the star right now. I'm also going to make it have a wide stroke. Get it at 8 points. And let's put some color on there. Make our fill color yellow and the stroke color in orange. Now notice how the stroke actually, you can see the blue lines that represent the vector that I've drawn. I hit Command Y and then Command Y again. So Command Y shows you the actual vectors I'm using. So you can see that the stroke is on either side of that vector. In your strokes palette, you do have the option to change that under the Align Stroke section. And you can make it inside the stroke, inside the vector, or outside the vector, or align it to the center. You can also choose to have dashed lines where you can type in a point range, 6 points, 12 points, and you can change the way your dashes are arranged by typing various different numbers in here. What I want to do now is show you just a quick trick. So I'm going to copy Command C my star, and then I'm going to edit paste in front. So that'd be Command F. So what I have right now is 2 stars. Command Z puts that back where it was. one on top of the other. I want to tell my star to have no fill, just like our circle over here. And I want to change my stroke to red. Okay? Now you can see what that did if I move this star out of the way, is that I have that red stroked star with no fill. So undo, put that back. What I want to do is have that red stroke be on top of the orange stroke so that it's visible. So I'm just going to change the point value down a little bit so that we're now getting this kind of effect with our strokes. One additional thing that you can play around with, notice when you select your objects with the Marquee tool, if I'm overlapping any part of the object, it's going to select it. So I've now selected both my stars. You can change the way that it draws corners and make those round. So that's something that you might want to play around with. So take a moment to play around with fills and strokes in Illustrator.